Welcome to Be Me with Shari Ware, the podcast where each day is a step towards a better you and where we focus on progress, not perfection. Join me as we embark on a journey of self-improvement and wellness, focusing on being just a little better than we were yesterday. Hello. Welcome to episode 33 of the Be Me podcast. My name is Shari Ware. I'm your host. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about how you can recover from a bad day fast, some simple ways to hit the reset button. So, Maya Angelou said, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it." And when I found that quote, that really spoke home to me. It's definitely what I believe is that even the crappy stuff, there's always something good that comes out of it. Everything happens for a reason has been my lifelong motto, and that really spoke to me. So she's written lots of books. You can find them on Amazon, and I'll make sure that I put the link in the show notes for you to check her out if you haven't already. And just before we get started into the actual content of this episode, for those who have been following the Be Me podcast previously, you might notice that I have a different background. It's a very small, when I'm doing my recording, the way that I record, there's a very small circle with my face and a background, because you don't really need to see me. It's just about the content. But if you have ever looked at that video, you might notice that in this one, this is the very first one that I have filmed outside, which is progress, I have to say. I'm in a different location, and that meant that I had to figure out how I was going to still record the Be Me podcast. So I am taking advantage of the beautiful landscape where I am. You can't see much of it with my head in the way, but you will be finding more about that at a later date in a later podcast. But for now, just know that I am in a different location. I am filming outside, and with that, there may be some things that I can't control. I will edit out whatever I can, but there may be some things that sneak in, because it's not worth editing it out if it's not very bad. And this is about progress, not perfection. So I'm checking my perfectionist hat at the door, which is what Be Me is all about. All right, let's get started. Okay, hitting the reset button. The very first thing we're going to go over in this episode is acknowledging. The second thing is, how do you actually reset? And the third thing is setting yourself up for a better tomorrow so that the bad days don't continue. So number one, acknowledging that you've actually had a bad day and that's okay. Bad days happen to everyone, to all of us. And there's a lot of things in life that we can control, but there's also many, many more things that we can't control. That's definitely been a hard lesson that I've had to learn. I have to say that I was a bit of a control freak, and it's something that I still struggle with, but I get better and better at it every day, and I've had to learn that I can't control everything, and so the only thing I can control is my reaction to a lot of things. So it's okay that we've had a bad day. It can be for many different reasons. And it could just be that nothing went right today. But the good news is that it doesn't have to turn into a bad run of days or a bad week. There are some really simple things that we can do to hit the reset button and take back some control. So acknowledge, admit that you've had a bad day, and let yourself feel the feelings of frustration, of exhaustion, of disappointment, of whatever it may be. It's important that we let ourselves experience our emotions. If we don't, at some point they're going to come out. So we may as well experience it at the time, which is going to help us moving forward. And it's not about not experiencing those feelings. They're human emotions. We were given those emotions for a reason. It's just about learning not to dwell on them, and it is a learned skill. We don't get born knowing all this stuff. We have to learn it. And it's something I know I've been working on for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of you have too. So acknowledge, we're going to pull ourselves out of it rather than dwelling on it, because we've got to also remember that, as we've been told time and time again, what we focus on is what we get. And it is so true. If you focus on good things, you are more likely. It's our reticular activating system. It's neuroscience, people. It's not just made up stuff. Um, when you focus on good things, you are more likely to see good things, because that's what you're focusing on. When you focus on negativity, that's what you're going to see, because that's what you're focusing on. So we definitely want to acknowledge but not dwell, and we want to shift our focus to more positive stuff in order to help ourselves move forward in a better way. So how can you actually reset? So the very first thing that I'm going to talk about is just taking a few deep breaths. Now, it sounds very simple, just breathing. But think about what happens when you do get stressed. When you get stressed, your body's fight or flight system kicks in, you become tense. Think about what happens to your breathing. Your breathing becomes shallow, and everything just feels harder. Your breathing might become faster as well. So what we want is, we want to pattern interrupt. We want to interrupt that pattern. We want to just take some time out, just a few minutes, to slow our breathing down, take a few deep breaths. Now, for some people who maybe aren't used to doing this, if you've never tried this before, you might want a recipe. So the recipe, it's not the only recipe. It doesn't matter how you breathe in and out, as long as you slow it down. But if you want something to help you to do that, if you've never done it before, you can inhale slowly for a count of 4, then hold your breath for a count of 4, for the same count of 4, and then exhale through your mouth for a count of 6. Basically 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds if you want the time. Different people, things speak differently to different people. So and then just do that, repeat that for a few minutes. And as you do that for a few minutes, you will notice that your breathings, your stress levels start to come down, your mind starts to become clearer. So that's number 1. Number 2 is simply changing your environment. It could just be getting up and going outside for 5 minutes, getting some fresh air, taking a short walk. It could be, if you don't want to go outside, if you're inside and you want to do something inside, it could be having a look around and seeing, maybe you've got a cluttered space, a cluttered drawer, or some space on the bench that's a bit cluttered, that's only going to take you 5 minutes to declutter. That would actually be really good, because as you're decluttering physically, it's going to help you to clear your mind. Could give you a different perspective. And if you've been struggling, if you're frustrated because you're looking for an answer for something, you haven't been able to find it yet, sometimes, I know this happens to me all the time, sometimes I just have to say, okay, I just need to put this down. I just need to go away, and I'll come back to it, and the answer will become clear to me. And sometimes the answer becomes clear to me while I'm doing something else. So there's a lot of benefits to simply just changing your environment. And it only has to be for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be for a long time. These things are all called pattern interrupts. You just need to interrupt the pattern that you were in. You need to stop it, interrupt it, and then that allows you to reset and come back in a more positive, more resourceful fashion. Doing something you enjoy, even if it's just for 5 minutes, whatever makes you happy. It could just be having a cuppa. You could just go and make yourself a cuppa and sit down and just enjoy your beverage of choice. It could be sitting out on the patio or whatever. It doesn't matter. It could be reading. Whatever makes you happy, if it's listening to music, if it's journaling, there's so many different things that it could be. Just 5-10 minutes of it, that if it's something that you enjoy, that's definitely going to help you reset in a more positive and bring you into a more positive mindset. We really have to let go of what we can't control. And please know, when I'm saying, let it go, remember that very famous Frozen song, I'm sorry. I know that's now stuck in your head. Sorry, not sorry. Sometimes we need to do things like that to really, really get the message home. I know that it can be hard. It can feel hard to let go of what you can't control. It's something I've definitely struggled with, 100%. Um, but at the end of the day, there are things that we just cannot control. We can't change it. We can't change it. So we may as well just let it go, learn to let it go. Um, and, you could ask yourself a question: what can I change right now? And what do I need to release? Is there something that you can control? Is there something that you can change? It may only be something about how you are reacting to it. There may be nothing else that you can control, and that's okay. By asking yourself that question, that's going to also help you to realize if it is something you control or if it's not, and help you to process and release and whatever you need to do and let it go. And when you've had a bad day, you definitely want to end the day with gratitude. It is so easy to focus on what went wrong that day when we're, and this is part of being outside, is the flies. So you might see the famous Aussie salute from time to time when I've got a fly buzzing around my head. So it is really easy to focus on what went wrong when we're ending our day, and especially when we're ending our day, it's so important for us to shift the focus to a positive focus, because we don't want to go to bed in a negative state. We don't want to go to sleep in a negative state. We want to go to sleep in a positive state, which is going to help us with the next thing that we're going to talk about after this, is a better tomorrow, right? So focusing on gratitude before we go to bed is going to help us to end the day on a good note and to start the next day on a good note as well. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the things in my own life is that I always say that I'm so grateful for every single thing that's happened to me, whether it be positive or negative, whether it be the crappy stuff or the good stuff. I have had some crappy stuff, in my life, and I've had some awesome stuff. And I'm grateful for every single bit of it, because every single thing that I have had happen in my life has made me the person that I am today. It's made me the strong, resourceful, resilient person that I am. I'm not perfect, but I'm a pretty awesome person. I can look myself in the mirror and actually tell myself that, I'm proud of me and I love me, and I love, so many things about me. And that's come because of the things that I've had in my life. So I am so grateful for all of it. And if I've ever had a bad day, I think about, okay, um, is there a was there a gift? What gift can I see in what happened? Um, I'm a lifelong believer of everything happens for a reason. That has been my lifelong motto. And sometimes, especially with some of the really crappy stuff, I haven't been able to see what the gift was at the time. It might have been, days or weeks or months or years later when I finally saw the real gift and understood why that thing happened or understood more about it. But I do know that even in the crappy stuff, there's always something good. And so I always try and look for that. And I always tell myself every day how grateful I am for the good things that I have in my life. So ending the day with that gratitude, what happened today that was good? What are the gifts that you can see in what happened in your day? There will always be something if you look for it. And I've got some great tools that will help you with all of these things as well, which I'll tell you about at the end. So how do you set yourself up for a better tomorrow? First of all, definitely the gratitude, which we've already spoken about. But some three other things that will help you is, number one, disconnecting from technology at least an hour before you go to bed. Don't be scrolling on social media. We all know that some of that stuff can be really negative, really triggering. So you definitely do not want to be doing that if you've had a bad day. That's not going to help you. So making sure even if you don't do it every day, if you've had a bad day, then make sure that you're disconnecting from technology at least an hour before you go to bed. Do something that's more relaxing before you go to bed. So reading, stretching, journaling, time with the family, hug your pet, have some snuggle time with your pet, whatever is going to make you feel good and help you relax. And prioritize your sleep. Now, obviously, it's good for us to be prioritizing our sleep at any time. However, when you've had a bad day, it's exhausting mentally, emotionally, and physically. So your body needs extra rest. So definitely make sure that you prioritize your sleep on those difficult, challenging days, and give yourself the gift of allowing your body and mind to recharge for the next day. And I've also got a really cool tool to help you with that. So, I always direct people to the written edition of Be Me Bites that corresponds with the podcast episode, which for this one, there is a corresponding episode. It is Be Me Bites 31, Hit the Reset Button, How to Recover from a Rough Day in Minutes. Now, when you check out the written edition, you will find that lots of extra resources. I've created a couple of things that will help you. The Fab 3 Daily Journal, you'll find a link to that in there. The 4-5-3-2-1 Sleep Hygiene Routine, which is a really handy daily checklist that you can tick off to help you get a better rest at night. And then I also include other resources that I find from other people, just so that, it's not just all my opinion. There's, if I can find scientific evidence to back it up, I'll include that, like videos, written articles from other people, well-known people, not just me. So I just like to give, if you want to know more, there's lots more out there, and I like to make it as easy as possible for you to find more resources, so that you'll find them in there. And you also might find some things that were in the written edition, other than resources, that didn't make it into the podcast, because I don't script my podcast, I just talk off the cuff. And as an ethical bribe, if you do subscribe to Be Me Bites, you get a free online copy of any of my books. And when you subscribe, you'll get an email that will tell you how you can claim that. that's it for this episode. Until the next episode, keep taking one step at a time, and I'll see you then. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.